Hi, I'm Natalie. Thank you for stopping by. My channel is all about health, wellness, and eco-friendly living. If this is your first time here, welcome. I drop videos every Mondays, so feel free to hit that subscribe button. Today, we're talking about what foods to avoid if you have lupus. Lupus has no specific diet. The medical community has not yet agreed on a specific diet that is best for all lupus patients. And the main reason for that is because depending on your own body needs and body sensitivity to foods, that diet may change from one person to the next. But there are certain foods that can improve the quality of our lives in general and that can help reduce flare-ups, just like there are certain foods that can help trigger flare-ups. Too much salt can actually trigger inflammation in our body, which can lead to flare-ups. Salt also traps water in our body, and unfortunately that water retention can lead to high blood pressure. Some of the steroids that are given to us to treat our condition already increases our risk for high blood pressure. So when you add to that a diet that is high in sodium and salt, then you're exponentially increasing your risk of having high blood pressure, which naturally leads to other health issues. When it comes to salt, moderation is key. It's best to keep it at a minimum. But if you want to eliminate salt from your diet altogether, there are a lot of salt-free seasonings out there. You can also consider using fresh herbs as an additional substitute to salt if you want to eliminate it altogether, or if you want to do less salt and a mixture of herbs, that's also another way to go. Concentrated juice have a lot of sugar and preservatives, which make them an unhealthy choice for us. A more healthy choice would be to eat the whole fruit instead of the juice, like eat the whole fruit. As an example, instead of concentrated orange juice, to eat an actual orange, or to eat the whole vegetable so that you can absorb in your body all the vitamins and nutrients from that food. Also, certain vitamins like vitamin C, for instance, are water soluble. They can only provide their benefits when they're consumed fresh. When you store them, they tend to lose that healthy benefit to our body. Plus, fresh fruits and fresh vegetables are high in fiber, which is good for our digestive system and good for our health. So in general, trading concentrated juice for fresh fruits is a better alternative all around. Anything that helps our tummies run smoothly is a good thing when you have lupus. Refined sugars are also foods that we should avoid because the steroids that we take as medication for our lupus increases our chances of being overweight. Sugar also naturally increases our chances of being overweight. Weight is an issue for us because we have a lot of muscle pain and joint pain. Sugar has also been shown scientifically to cause inflammation in the body, which leads to increased flare-ups. So sugary drinks, a lot of sugar, a lot of dessert, a lot of sugary foods in general are typically going to cause flare-ups. An alternative to refined sugars is natural sugars, so our body metabolizes that a little bit differently and it doesn't carry the same risk. Canned foods and processed foods are a good way to keep our foods with us longer. It's a good way to buy them and store them for a very long time and not have to worry about them going bad. But unfortunately, in order for manufacturing companies to be able to store those fresh foods for years to come, there's a whole lot they have to do to it. And a lot of that stuff isn't necessarily healthy for our bodies. Lots of preservatives and additives like salt, sugar, and other preservatives are added to those foods, which then makes them not as healthy as they would be if they were consumed fresh. All those chemicals aren't necessarily good for our bodies. It's best for our bodies if food is clean, if food is fresh and kept, as simple as possible. And I don't know if you've ever had a chance to check the label on any canned foods, especially canned vegetables. It's insane like how much sodium is actually in these canned goods. And for a lot of people, when they're cooking with canned foods, in addition to the sodium that's already in the food, then naturally add more salt to the food, which then takes that salt and sodium to like really, really high levels, which takes us back to, what we talked about salt and sodium earlier. It's just kind of like a vicious cycle. When possible, it's best to avoid canned foods and just go for fresh foods instead. Alfalfa sprouts are sprouts that come out of alfalfa flower seeds. Under normal circumstances, that is a very healthy food to eat. But for those of us with lupus, it is very dangerous. It's recommended that we avoid them altogether, as well as any supplements that have them included. I've talked about this in my other video, but I wanted to include it here as well in case some of you haven't seen it. But there is an amino acid inside alfalfa sprouts that has been known to speed up the immune system, which is great when you don't have lupus. But when you have lupus, anything that speeds up the immune system is not your friend, because our body is already overly active. A flare-up is basically when the body is attacking its natural organs and cells. It's overly reacting to itself, and it's damaging cells in the body. So when you eat foods that also add more energy or more get up or more speed to your immune system, then you can see how that would make that problem much worse. Garlic is another one that is highly recommended for good health, but when you have lupus, it does not work the same. It's actually really bad for us because garlic naturally boosts the immune system, and it boosts the white blood cells in our bodies. And white blood cells, as you know, are the parts of the blood that would naturally attack, illnesses. When we have a disease or an illness or we have a cold, the white blood cells will defend our territory, which will make us healthy. In the case of lupus, when you boost the immune system and you increase the speed of the immune system, you also increase, the speed of that process of the body attacking itself, so then it becomes harmful to the body. That speed up and that boost is actually problematic. We want to calm our body down because our body is already overly reactive. Coffee is another thing. Caffeine, as you know, is a stimulant, and caffeine does the same thing. It stimulates the body, it gives it energy. For a lot of people, it's a good go-to when they're running low in their energy during the day. Caffeine is something that a lot of people use regularly to be able to get through their day. When you have lupus, though, caffeine becomes a problem because of its boosting of the immune system. So that speed up, again, is an issue for us. Secondly, when you have lupus, you want to make sure that you get adequate rest. Rest is when our body is able to heal, and it's when our body is able to kind of calm itself down and repair itself and regenerate cells. If lupus is causing our body to attack cells and attack organs and destroy cells and organs, if we're not getting adequate sleep for those cells to get repaired, it's like a vicious cycle where we don't really give our body a fighting chance. Caffeine has also been shown to affect sleep in a negative way. People who consume a lot of caffeine can disrupt their natural sleep cycle. So that disruption causes, a lack of adequate sleep, which gets us back to that original problem of the body not getting enough downtime to cool off, cool down, and repair itself. In addition to caffeine disrupting the natural sleep cycle, it's also been shown to cause stomach issues such as bloating, loose bowels, and just irritation in general. When you're taking lupus meds, anything that disrupt your stomach, just disrupt the efficacy of the medication, because your body needs to be able to absorb the medication. But if you're having stomach issues while you're taking the medication, it doesn't really have proper time to do what it needs to do, which then compromises your treatment. Keep in mind that in certain chocolates, certain drinks, and certain sodas, there's also caffeine. So we should always be checking out the label just to make sure that whatever we're consuming doesn't have caffeine in it. So it's not just coffee, there are other substances that could also have caffeine. It's also recommended to avoid alcohol if possible while you're being treated for lupus, because it disrupts the treatment process. When folks are being tested in the lab for the efficacy of medications, they're not drinking alcohol. So those results are based on somebody that's not drinking. So when we later introduce alcohol to our treatment process, it just changes the results that we're gonna have. Plus, alcohol can also damage our kidneys, which is always a risk for lupus anyways. So that's an added risk if you consume alcohol. It can also cause inflammation in the body, which can lead to flare-ups and cause other health issues that we don't need. So for all those reasons, it's recommended to avoid alcohol if possible. Tobacco is another one, whether it's chewing tobacco, vaping, or cigarettes. Tobacco is not good for our health in general. We all know this. It's not just about lupus, but in general. In the case of lupus, tobacco is known to damage our bones. And just like with alcohol, when they were testing patients for the efficacy of the lupus medication, they weren't smoking cigarettes or drinking alcohol. So when you add those substances to your medication regimen, to your treatment plan, you're introducing something new that your doctor hasn't tested for. So you're kind of compromising the treatment plan altogether. So that's why it's recommended to avoid those substances as well. So any toxic substances that are known to create additional health issues are probably not best for those of us who have lupus. Foods that are high in cholesterol and high in saturated fat are not going to be good for us, because those can lead to other health issues, again, that we're already at risk for because of the lupus. Unhealthy fats are typically found in foods that are deep fried, anything deep fried, red meats, and any dairy foods are going to have a lot of unhealthy fats that are not good for us, so it's recommended that we avoid those. You know, cheese, ice cream, cream vegetables, or cream soups, you know, all those things are unhealthy fats. Deep fried foods, French fries, you know, all that stuff is just, it's not as good for us. Another factor is that the steroids that we use for our treatment naturally increases our chances of high cholesterol. That's why a lot of us, when we're given steroids, we're also given a high cholesterol medication, even if we don't suffer from high cholesterol. I fall in that category. Even though I don't have high cholesterol, I take a high cholesterol medication because I do take steroids. So if our body is already susceptible to having high cholesterol, if we're adding a high cholesterol diet to that, then we're increasing our risk exponentially. So it's just something to be mindful of. So that was the 10 tips. Here are a few more bonus tips. First one is a non-food tip. And I didn't know this for the longest time, so I wanted to make sure I shared it with you guys. Sun rays. The medications that we take make us more at risk for absorbing too much UV rays. So if you have lupus and you're being treated for lupus, you want to avoid the sun if possible. If you know, you want to use sunscreen, you want to cover your skin, and just be mindful of your exposure to the sun, because the sun can actually trigger flare-ups. 2/3 of lupus patients are UV light sensitive, and you may be one of them, so it's just something to think about. A high protein diet is also not good for people with lupus because of our kidneys. Protein puts a lot of pressure on our kidneys, so you know, it's good to be mindful of the amount of protein that a person is consuming in a day. And when I'm talking about protein, I'm talking about meats, fish, tofu, any kind of foods that are high in protein. You know, our kidneys really have a hard time metabolizing all of that. For us, it's best to have a low protein diet. The other thing is, if you have any sensitivity to foods, having lupus is gonna make that much more worse, because if your body's already struggling to metabolize certain foods that you're eating because your body is either allergic to it or sensitive to it, then you know, it's always good to avoid those foods that your body already has a hard time, you know, processing, because the body is already struggling to keep itself healthy. So when we're giving it things that it does not like, then we're making everything worse. Some people are sensitive to nightshades and gluten. So if you know your body is sensitive to those things, then it's good to avoid them from your diet. Just eliminate them altogether. Certain vitamins and supplements are also not good for us. So as an example, excess vitamin E and beta carotene have been shown to cause flare-ups. So it's just good to be mindful of supplements when you're taking them. It's good to check with your doctor to make sure that it's not gonna affect you in a negative way and it's not gonna interfere with your treatment and your medication. The important thing to remember with this video is that lupus affects every person differently. Everybody's an individual, everybody's unique, everybody has a unique set of needs and preferences. You know, everybody's body is unique to them. So there is not going to be a trigger that is like universal for everybody. Some people eat garlic and they're fine, some people eat garlic and they're sick for a week. You just have to figure out what works for you. If you're concerned that a particular food may be a trigger for your flare-ups, one thing that you can do is eliminate that food from your diet for like 2 weeks to a month if you want to be extra cautious even, and then reintroduce it to your diet and see how you react. Because if you eliminate it for a month and you feel great and you reintroduce it and you get sick, you would know, hey, my body does not like this, and then you know that's not something you can have. It's always best to discuss your specific needs with your doctor or your dietitian so you can make sure that your diet is best suited for you and your personal needs. Because at the end of the day, it's all about you and your body and your health and what your body needs so that you can function in the very best way possible. And that's something that only your body has the answers to. Your doctor is going to be able to assist you with some of that, and the other part of it is you know how you feel. Nobody knows how you feel. You're the only one living in your body. So if you notice that after eating certain things, your body reacts a certain way, you can always test these things to just see how it works out, you know, if you were to eliminate them or reduce them. So that's all that I have for today regarding the foods to avoid if you have lupus. Have you eliminated any items from your diet since being diagnosed with lupus, or are you in the process of eliminating anything from your diet to reduce flare-up? For me, it's been sugar and energy drinks. I used to enjoy energy drinks here and there whenever my energy was low and I needed to, have a boost to be able to continue working. I soon realized that energy drinks were a huge trigger for me, because whenever I would have them, it would flare up. It would cause flare-ups like immediately. So I started noticing that, as well as sugar. So I gradually eliminated those things from my diet. I still consume sugar from time to time, but it's in moderation, and I usually go for natural sugars, like sugars that are made out of sugar cane. I also like monk fruit sugar. That's another one that I really enjoy. What about you? What are some changes that you've made to your diet to help you with managing flare-ups and reducing flare-ups in general? Leave your comments in the box below. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it the thumbs up. I drop videos every Mondays, so feel free to hit that subscribe button if you're into this kind of content. If you'd like to shop any of my sustainable fashion pieces, you can check them out at styledunder.com. Follow me on social media at styledunder25. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Au revoir!